Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Uncharted Brutal Difficulty walkthrough. This is Chapter 11, it's called Trapped, and this is just one fight, basically, one really tough fight. And on Crushing, I died twice here, but in those deaths, it taught me exactly how the spawns functioned, so that when I got here on Brutal, I managed to do this, I think, the second attempt. I would have done it the first attempt if it wasn't for just a weird spawn. And you may wonder what I mean when I say a weird spawn. The spawns are always the same, but how the enemies behave afterwards is random. I had the strangest AI of people trying to flank me ever. They were not moving like they normally do, they were super erratic and I could not get shots on them, and I ended up taking a couple of stray bullets and being put down. But my strategy is really easy, it's not intensive at all. I stick in this alcove down here, in the back of these stairs. I kill those first few people, I get the sniper, I kill the people I killed with the sniper, and then I proceed to use my pistol to just kill people who are on the left-hand side of this room. Once you kill everybody that you can see who can shoot at you actively, there will always be one person left, and he's at the back of a bunch of rubble at the back of the room. Flank round to the right, kill him, and the moment you kill him, behind us where we are now, a bunch of dudes drop in, which I find to be really unfair in my opinion, because you can't keep yourself in a really good spot like this, because they will spawn on top of you. So what you're going to do is when you push out to kill the guy at the back of the rubble, you're going to then put yourself in a position of your choosing to then take down the rest of the guys that jump in. Additionally, you can choose to skip that second spawn and go straight for the winch, but I don't really think that's the best idea, because it's very easy to die on Brutal, and one of the things that doesn't get conveyed in these videos is just how quickly you can die. So there are moments where you will never get shot doing something, and there are other times where you get instantly murked as if they thought you'd sent angry letters to their mother. And there's no middle grounds with this. You either sometimes get very fortunate, or other times they're just laser-like, and I don't appreciate it too much, but it's just the way the game works. This is the guy who's always left, him there, and once he's dead, if you spin around you'll see them drop in, you see him? So he's already dropped in at that point. I waste 2 magnum shots trying to shoot 3 magnum shots, that's depressing. And there's going to be, I think there's about 3 or 4 dudes that assail you at this point. Because I'm not attached to grenades with how they work in this game, I chuck them to try and put some pressure on him. And I'm trying to pay attention to see if anybody's flanking. There's another guy dropping in. The spawns here are very fair in what they are. I just wish they weren't behind you, I wish they were dynamic. Because in a lot of games, there will be more than one spawn point, and if you're in a spawn point, they will not spawn there. They'll spawn them somewhere else. And it's to ensure that you can't do what I'm doing now, which is essentially spawn killing the enemies. The only difference here is, on Brutal, the enemies are so accurate and so damaging that it never feels like you're at an advantage, it always feels like you're a second away from dying. And I do think that that is a quality that makes Brutal enjoyable. Because the average gamer looking at this difficulty is probably going to think that it's impossible or bullshit and not worth the struggle. And I realised this when I was watching a podcast the other day, because somebody in the podcast was saying that Brutal's just broken, and it's not. Brutal's not broken. There's a few checkpoints that are a little bit, what's going on here? But it's not broken at all. If anything, I think it's really, really well balanced, considering, and it could have been way worse in a lot of ways. But I've also been watching good old DSP play Bioshock on hard, because he's playing it again, so we thought, I'll put it on hard. And the amount of times he references that he's on hard is insane. Like, every single situation, oh, it's probably because I'm on hard difficulty. Like, that's his answer to everything. And I'm kind of glad he doesn't play games on harder difficulties, because if he's going to bitch this much, like, I'm sick of hearing the hard difficulty in sentences. It's every 5 sentences it's propping up, like, oh, that must be because it's hard difficulty, oh, that's probably because of hard difficulty. It's like, no, Phil, it's just Bioshock. You would know this if you didn't play games on easy. Like, come on, nah. The game is difficult. That's why it's called hard. Or Survivor, or whatever you choose. Like, It's so funny watching him do the whole, this doesn't work now. It worked on normal, but it doesn't work on hard. It's like, well, exactly. It's hard. That's the point, you know? I love that. I love the incredulity that he has. And everybody faces this, guys. The stuff that happens on Uncharted and the things that work on normal don't work on this difficulty. That's the joy of difficulties. It changes the game. It forces you to adapt and change how you play it. And that's why I like doing harder difficulties. A lot of people ask me, like, why do you do this? You know, why do you play games on the harder difficulty? Are you a masochist? or something. It's like, no, I find it fun to face the computer at its most lethal and beat it, you know? It's the same when I play competitive games. I like to win. I want to win at all times. You know, I don't want people to best me. I want to be the best player on the team. I want to be, you know, MVP. I want to be all those kind of delusions of grandeur. So when you're up against a computer, it's just the same thing, but, you know, manifested slightly differently because, of course, you're never going to be the most accurate. You're never going to be the most patient because the computer just doesn't care, does it? It's on for as long as your plug's on. So there is definitely an allure to facing different situations, and I think it's one of the reasons why perhaps difficulty should change enemy placements more, because I think that's one of the coolest things that they do in difficulty, because you get to an area and you're like, wow, this is different, this is completely different, I had no idea this could be more difficult, or less difficult in some cases. How many games have you played where they changed the enemy placements and it was actually harder on the earlier difficulty than it was on the later one because it had an awful combination of dudes, or a really awkward one that forced you to play very specifically? You know, there's a lot of things you can do with stuff like that I think developers don't experiment enough with, and it's one of the reasons that I really liked Team Ninja, and I really liked Platinum for doing it, and of course, you know, Clover and Capcom and things, because they were never afraid to face you off against different situations. And right now, you can choke this guy, and there's a guy on the stairs who will generally shoot at you, but for some reason he doesn't do brutal damage. And I don't know if it's because his bullet passed through the other guy and somehow reduced the damage on it. I have no idea why this guy's not doing the most damage to me, but as you can see, he wasn't doing the best damage. I really don't like the grenade launcher in Uncharted 1. I don't know why sometimes it works wonderfully and other times it really doesn't. They must have definitely tweaked that for the sequels, because when you pick up a grenade launcher in Uncharted 2 and 3, you really feel like you have a weapon that's going to win you a war. In this game, I kind of feel like I'm going to kill myself more than I'm going to kill anybody else. A little bit like the boom shot before you figured out how to use it. Like, look at that. I'm not too sure why that didn't at least, you know, maybe knock him out of cover with the concussion. This sequence here, there's a couple of people in these rooms. I was trying to get fancy with grenades, and then I realised that this game doesn't really do grenades very well. If this was Call of Duty, you could bounce that shit off that wall and hit him in the mouth. It's one of my favourite things to do on that game. I actually got called somebody who should stick to Call of Duty because I didn't appreciate the storyline in a game about boobs. I thought that was quite ironic. But thank you for watching, guys. Another pretty short mission. I hope the guide's helping if you're using it, and if not, I hope you're enjoying the discussion and being part of it in the comments. But thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.